Welcome to ETUK's The World This Week, but funnier.
All right, buckle up. We're about to dive into a week where the news cycle felt less like a serious report and more like a fever dream somebody forgot to write down. Welcome to our breakdown of the last 7 days of just absolute beautiful, beautiful chaos.
Seriously, what a week. The line between what was real and what was satire wasn't just blurred, it was splattered all over the place. I mean, it was a mess. The only thing you could really count on was that a politician's promise would be followed by, crushing disappointment. So, let's get into it.
So first up, the grand stage of global politics. The UN and the African Union have, get this, vowed once again to deepen their partnership. I'm sure we can expect a very strongly worded resolution on that by, 2035? You just know there's going to be a fantastic fruit platter at that meeting, though.
So, speaking of the UN, they created this new loss and damage fund for climate change. And the grand total they pulled together to save the world? $250 million. Which is, it's a start, I guess. Kinda? Now, you might be asking, why does that number feel like a joke? Well, probably because the high-end estimate for climate losses just this year is $937 billion. So that $250 million, that's not a drop in the bucket. It's like a single slightly damp molecule in a bucket that's already on fire. Look, it's like trying to fight a wildfire with a water pistol. But hey, don't worry, they've launched a debut call for proposals, so at least all that paperwork is going to keep everyone busy while the planet slowly melts. It's exactly like the slide says, rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, just with way, way more acronyms. And while the UN is busy, vowing things, let's take a look at Sudan. You've got young volunteers literally risking their lives to run soup kitchens in the middle of a war zone. So on one side, you have pronouncements. On the other, you have people actually feeding people. You see the difference? And in other news from the world of perfectly functional governments, South Sudan's president has sacked his vice president. Why, you ask? Oh, just a tiny little UN report accusing the VP's companies of a $1.7 billion corruption scandal. Just a minor detail, really. So, what was the official reason for the firing? You're gonna love this. There wasn't one. Why bother with reasons when you have 5 vice presidents? It's basically a game of musical chairs, but with a lot more guns and absolutely zero music.
And now for a story that sounds like it was written by a particularly creative and possibly stoned seagull. 28 kilograms of ketamine, disguised as tea bags, washed up on a South Korean holiday island. I can see the marketing now. High tide tea, the tea that takes you to a whole other dimension.
And finally, over in China, the youth are embracing a new frugality trend. 2 meals for $1. Now that's not a trend, my friends, that's just called being a student. But you just know some influencer is already making a gourmet meal out of a single grain of rice and calling it artisanal poverty. Okay, let's move on to science and tech, where the future is just getting weirder and weirder by the minute. This next bit features diamonds, some truly dystopian advertising, and a whole lot of questions about where exactly we're all headed. So scientists are now using diamond-based sensors to monitor fusion energy. Because, of course, what else are you going to use to measure the heart of a man-made star? It's got to be the most expensive thermometer ever created. I just hope they don't lose one. Can you even imagine that insurance claim? So, let me get this straight. You're saying you lost a diamond inside a star? And in a story that proves the future of advertising is somehow even worse than we thought, a tech entrepreneur in France funded his wedding by selling ad space on his suit. The guy walked down the aisle looking like a NASCAR driver. I can just imagine the vows. I, Dagobert, take you, Anna, and I'd also really like to thank our sponsors. And over in Denmark, the government is banning social media for anyone under 15. No more TikTok for the teens, which, is probably good for their sleep schedules and concentration, but has anyone considered the economic impact? This could be absolutely devastating for the lip-syncing and dance challenge industries. Just devastating. All right, next up, we're talking food and culture, where we find a desperate new food trend and a very, very old tradition that involves a whole lot of fire. So in Australia, 3.5 million people are struggling with food insecurity. The media has decided to call this a desperate food trend. A trend? That's like calling a house fire a new and exciting way to heat your home. It is a crisis, not a TikTok challenge. And now, for a tradition that just defies all logic, England's annual tar barrels event. As you can see, the steps are pretty simple. Step 1, you carry a flaming barrel of tar. Step 2, you run. And step 3, this is the real kicker. You have to do it completely sober. I don't know if that's commitment or just a massive cry for help.
All right, everybody, take a deep breath. Welcome to the Pure Absurdity File. These are the stories where you just have to shake your head because you absolutely cannot make this stuff up. Let's go.
So, a police officer in Detroit appeared in a virtual court hearing without any pants on. The judge, understandably, was not amused. It is the ultimate work-from-home fail. I mean, at least he had a shirt and tie on, so, he was half-dressed for success.
Meanwhile, at Purdue University, a man was seen just walking around campus covered head to toe in peanut butter. He is now known only as PB Man. The university is concerned about peanut allergies, which is fair, but I'm a little more concerned about the man himself. Like, is he okay? Does he need a towel? Or maybe a giant piece of bread?
Oh, and you thought ancient Australia was scary enough? Well, scientists just found evidence of crocodiles that, wait for it, climbed trees and then dropped down onto their prey. So on top of the giant spiders and the venomous snakes, you had to worry about death from above. It's an absolute miracle anyone ever survived on that continent. And for our grand finale, we have Akan, the man who wants to build a futuristic city in Senegal. He was arrested in a suburb of Atlanta. And why? For driving with a suspended license in a Tesla Cybertruck that was disabled. You can't write this stuff. It's the perfect metaphor. A man with this grand vision for the future brought down by the most boring, mundane problems of today. And that, my friends, was our week. Political theater, sci-fi turning into reality, and a man covered in peanut butter. It is a strange, strange world. And sometimes, laughing is the only rational response. Because really, if you can't laugh at a world this absurd, what's the point? Until next time, try to stay sane out there.